Welcome to DJNTV and Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Now introducing the one and only Ben Stowe.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. And in tonight's starting lineup, coming to us from Bemidji, Minnesota, it's the one and only Ben Stowe.
I live for these Tuesday night introductions, John. If I ever needed validation or affirmation, this is where I come. This is my. this is it.
This is where we come to get, and because we have family that'll tell us and put us right back into our spot. You aren't as smart as you think you are. Get in there and get that. Okay, I will.
That's a true story. That's a true story. Remember when Mobile Beat was still at Trop, and you kind of go through, and they had like that long walkway that go between like the pool area, and and they had some chairs there, right? Remember that?
Oh yeah.
And so you really can't sneak in, and it's great because I love seeing everybody I know. But of course, I'm just getting off a plane. I'm dragging luggage. I'm jet lagged, whatever. But we're going down to to where the exhibit area is just to see what freight might be missing, and start dealing with all that. And love seeing my friends. And people were like, "Hey, here comes the smartest guy in the room," or whatever. And then and I kind of look behind me like they're talking about somebody else, but. Anyway, and one guy says, how does it feel to go to a place like this show and everything you say, everybody takes as the gospel truth, right? Like everybody thinks like, everything. And I said, guys, I'm going to level with you. I got to be honest. It feels pretty good. I said, because, and at the time my oldest daughter was still a teenager. I said, when I go home, I got a wife and two girls, teenagers. I said, who just constantly tell me that I don't know anything. I'm the biggest moron in the world. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, I know what you mean. Anyway, let's get on to tonight's topic.
I was going to say, yeah, so now we know that I'm a moron.
Yeah, we just dug ourselves into a hole with this one. But hey, so Ben, I wanted to talk about lighting.
You know what? They don't even watch the show. I don't care.
Well, they have seen parts of it over time. So we can't say that they have never and they may not ever. But they don't watch it consistently, so we'll go with that. But yes.
I just got a text message from one of our viewers who shall remain nameless, who says, "I've got popcorn and I'm not wearing pants. How's that for validation?" I mean,
nice.
I'll just say this: I think you're going to be very disappointed in the type of show we have for you tonight.
Exactly. Yeah, we're talking, stages or maybe dance floors, but maybe not that type of dance floor. Hey, let's see where it goes. So. Lighting has been a big discussion, of course, as DJs are getting ready for the upcoming wedding season, that even at this point in time where some people are less than a month out, they're like, hey, you know what? I want to change my show. Yeah, great. But I wanted to talk a little bit about lighting because this is an area in which it seems that there's some very strong opinions, which there is in everything DJs do. But
say it ain't so.
But in order to, we've done some shows talking about lighting, but I really, let's talk about what kind of things should people keep in mind when it comes to really making an effective and an efficient or a good quality light show. Or, what are some of the things that really would lead to having success in that arena for most DJs?
Well, I think sort of preempting the questions that you had asked, I reached out to some of our friends and customers and said, hey, please send me pictures of your dance floor lighting. And I think that we can, without a question, I think we can use these pictures to answer that question. And they were, you said efficient, effective, and what was the last thing you said? Sorry.
Efficient, effective, and yeah. We'll just go from there. I'm sorry, I forgot.
So
wait, let's rewind.
Unscripted TV here, folks.
There we go.
Well, I think we can answer those questions about effective and efficient, purposeful. I think we can kind of look at these things, and as you said, people are opinionated. So I think there's actually a slide that I preempted thinking about that as well. So we'll kind of lead off with the what first of all. I think the first thing we should talk about with dance floor lighting is the purpose. Let's talk about the why before we talk about the what or the how.
Sure, that's a great spot to start.
Yeah, and I think there's two things that are that are complementary. And for me, safety is always first. So we're going to talk about the safety aspect. Now, of course, the safest thing is just leave the room lights on, which leads us to the second point that I'll talk about after the first point. The first point, though, is ingress egress. We need enough light so that people can go about their business. They can safely ingress, egress the space, whatever. But of course, then why wouldn't we just leave the room lights on? And that brings us to the second point, which is mood. We want to change the atmosphere. Many, many, many years ago, back when my kids were still all teenagers, I did this lighting DVD, and we interviewed a physiologist and a psychologist, and we talked about how different lighting makes people feel a little bit less inhibited, and how they're a little bit more willing to go out and, act like morons on the dance floor,
Sure.
And I think that's part of it, right? We don't want to go out in a bright dance floor, with the white fluorescent lights on. We want that mood lighting to help us to feel like, it's a little bit more of a party, right? But then, of course, we have to accomplish point 1, 2, and we have to have enough light. And it's interesting to me, by the way, that the one of the daughters in question is getting married this summer, and the DJ that is doing that wedding actually submitted some pictures, and I'm not going to say who it is. And by the way, I had no choice. I had no pick in that. But, I think we could talk about this a little bit, too, from the father of the bride perspective and the bride's perspective.
Certainly.
Obviously, I'm a show business professional. I've worked in this industry for 30 years. I don't even really care to have any say. In my mind, it's her wedding, and whatever she wants to do, that's fine with me. I'm gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
I know that not every father of the bride's going to feel the same way. But maybe my time in the industry has given me a little bit more freedom to just sort of let the professionals do what the professionals do, and let my daughter get what she wants, and I'm gonna have a good time no matter what. So now I think that brings us a little bit to the how and the what. And as you said, DJs are really opinionated, and I like that in some ways because I think it demonstrates a passion for the craft.
Certainly.
So I like that passion and that fire. I do think we need to maybe ratchet it down a little bit sometimes. Sometimes on the forum, people are like, you idiot, you moron, that's, come on, So here's the great thing about lighting. This is the thing that every DJ is going to love when it pertains to their lighting, and they're going to hate when it pertains to everybody else's lighting. There's not really a right or wrong here. There's a lot of subjectivity for the art. So, it's kind of like, yeah, never mind. I was going to bring up a George Carlin joke, but let's just move on. So I've got this kind of a slide here. Let me just see if I can get this shared. And I think we're going to kick off with this.
Hey, thanks you guys for joining us. There's a lot of Tom and Jeff and Denny, Daniel, Scott, Kyle. I saw a DJ Fred and goodness, a couple of others here that have been commenting and saying hey tonight and checking in. So thank you for being with us on Tuesday Night with Ben and Stowe. Wow, what in the world was that? Did you lose a bet or something? And that's...
Well, we're going to see how cultured you are here, John. So on the left, we have a painting by Pablo Picasso.
Yeah.
And on the right, we have Jackson Pollock.
I think the right one is, somebody tried to do a knockoff of a Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen, yeah. I was waiting for that. I was like, you're going to say it's an Eddie Van Halen guitar.
Yeah, it was a knockoff of that, and they didn't do a very good job. Okay, so anyway.
Who wore it better? So we've got Pollock and Picasso here. And I think the point is, I'm not an art critic, and I don't really like either of these, honestly. But but I think the point is that both of these are incredibly famous painters whose art goes for a substantial amount of money, and we could spend a lot of time arguing about who's right or wrong, but it doesn't matter. You can't tell the person who spent millions of dollars on a Picasso painting or even thousands of dollars on a print or whatever that they're wrong. And same would be said for Pollock or anybody else, whatever you're into. So in other words, going back to my daughter and her wedding and all the millions and millions of brides and grooms out there, they're the ultimate judge, and what they want is right. They're writing the check, and it's the golden rules. Whoever has the gold makes the rules, right?
Yeah,
So
there's that. Yes.
So that being said, let's dive into some examples, and these are in no particular order. And to be honest, I really didn't even have time to try to think about theming them. I sort of loosely organized these, but I thought the more I did, I thought, this is good because we're going to kind of bop around a few things.
Sure.
The only one that's in a particular order is the first one.
I love that overhead lighting that they've got coming in from 93 million miles away. Oh, well, that wasn't part of the sequence. Okay.
Yeah, I wait for dark. So this is a photo from my friend Eric Hess, and this is not his current show. He wanted me to be very clear about that. And we're going to look at some of his current lighting now, but this, of course, is what Eric's rig looked like in the 90s. And in fact, it's what all of our rigs looked like.
Yeah, I was going to say that in 1990, that would have been like, ooh, he's got an awesome system there.
I would have been jealous, frankly.
Yeah.
He has more toys and more bells and whistles than I did in the 90s.
Strobe and the different beaming effects. It's a moving, yeah, he's got some action going on up there.
And John, I know that you're even older than me, but so we were all doing this stuff in the 90s.
Yeah.
And of course, the name of the game was basically how do we pack up a roller rink and stuff it in a trailer and bring it to a wedding.
For sure. That was it. Right?
So as gaudy as this looks now, this was El Primo back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up, the reason I started with this is because we're going to look at some evolutions of this now. And we're going to look at what lighting looks like now. And you can bet it's going to look different in 5 years. And it looked different 5 years ago. And again, I think that's a reflection of the changing taste and the changing art. But as I said, the client ultimately has the say. So, all right, let's take a look, see here what we've got next. This is from our good friend, and fellow Hall of Famer, Jim Cerrone.
Jim Cerrone, yes.
Who still owes me ice cream. If you're watching, Jim, I haven't forgotten about that. So, and nor will I. Some things are sacrosanct, and ice cream is one of those.
Yeah,
so,
one of them.
Anyway, what we can see here is obviously a fairly elegant setting. I love the architecture. The building in and of itself has a lot to offer. It has a lot of presence. And Jim has just sort of augmented that by lighting some places. And there really is just the opposite of what we just saw in Eric's picture. There's almost virtually no lighting or nothing, gaudy and over the top, right? It's really meant to blend into the atmosphere and highlight the room and not, just blast you with flash and trash, as we used to say.
Yeah.
And then this picture also from Jim, and here again we can see a very minimalist DJ setup. Really the only lighting he has is uplighting around the room, and yet the room is lit. We have our light for ingress egress, so mission accomplished, right? I would say, but again, depends on what the client wants. And I think that also depends on the event itself. And I've got some wedding examples in here, and I've also worked in a few other events too, because I think this isn't a one size fits all. And I'm very fond of saying, as you know, John, from the audio front, I'm very fond of saying, have the right rig for the gig. And I think the same applies to lighting.
Sure.
So here my pal Joey has sent us a couple pictures, and I liked these for two reasons. One, the picture on the left really shows how the light is minimalist, but is designed absolutely with the decor in mind. The light was very purposefully chosen to match the decor. Thus, the client is happy, and everybody's happy when the client's happy, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
I love that. And then, of course, we can see the pivot, and we'll actually, there's a disco ball in this picture. We'll talk about disco balls in a minute too. So I should have maybe moved this picture later, but again, so many different ways to rearrange this because there's no rules, I think, in lighting. Next picture, of course, we can see that it's a bit of a different rig. He's got the totems. We're going to get some ambient light from the facade and the totems. He's got some moving heads on top of the totems. And then he's got some wash lights, wash effects from Chevet on top of the speakers, which can be used for significant area lighting, which those are very popular. And we'll look at some pictures featuring those too. And then here from my friend Ramin, we've got the Astera tubes, and those and the well sticks from Chevet, very, very popular. And we can see that he's got some pink uplighting, and he's got the moving heads, and then the tubes are currently just white. And I want to talk about that with the next slide here too. But again, sort of, minimalist has been the theme, but we're starting to see a little bit more gear here, and also have the ability to sort of change things as the night goes on. We can move into a bit more of that clubbish feel, right? Everybody gets a little less sophisticated as the night goes on,
Yes,
right?
that's exactly how we always refer to it, less sophisticated.
Yeah, we moved from Frank Sinatra to, Cardi B or whatever.
Frank's
But
other brother. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, whoopsie, got a little carried away with the button here. So check out these from my buddy Brian. Now, what's really notable to me about this picture on the left is the fact that it's white. And, I think this is all about understanding the moment, because this is going to allow for outstanding video, outstanding moment capture. Now, again, not here to say what's right and wrong, right? If the bride wants all kinds of moving light beams across her for the first dance and she wants it, whatever, great. But I'm guessing that's not what this client wanted, and Brian has delivered that moment where it's the simple elegance. It's not about the light show right now.
Yeah.
It's about the moment. It's about the moment, And yet, with that same equipment, when things get rocking, and we can see very clearly they're rocking in the next picture, now these tubes have a bit more color and atmosphere and movement to them. So, yeah. My pal Martin, we've got some of the things we saw before here. We've got some LED wash par type things on a T-bar. We've got those moving heads, and we've also got the tubes. And then, of course, some more on the facades. We're starting to incorporate some of these elements. And again, Picasso and Pollock. We're seeing the same sort of brush strokes used in different ways and with different effect. And there's kind of a recurring theme we've seen so far that I guess this is as good a time as any to bring up. And that is, notice that everything is doing something that matches. Everything is doing something that goes together thematically. There's no chaos. So we'll spend a little more time later talking about control, because I think that's really key here.
And I think that, going back to the very first picture and what we did in the 90s is it was more of a create chaos, and whether it was, it was intentional. Yes, we wanted to create chaos because we wanted that chaos of the roller rig, but
correct. That was all the vogue,
Yeah, that was the way.
And even going back to my shows in the 90s, I did still have the ability, crude as it was, because DMX was very much in its infancy and it was very expensive, and basically only tours had it. So, we had the little power on off switch boxes, and that was about what we had. And I had a little lighting chase controller for pars and that sort of thing. But I could, for a slow dance, for example, I could turn on only the red pars and turn on a slow mirror ball with the white pin spot and sort of shift that. So then, when Cotton Eye Joe comes on after that, then it's back to chaos, right? So
exactly.
Or the Macarena, God forbid. 1995, I'll never forget the day everybody's life changed. Anyway, so I can even tell you what X mix that was on. But anyway, so here we see my longtime friend Mike Fernino, and he's got some like LED strip type things going on there. It's sort of kind of like, it's hard to describe because it's different than what we've seen, and yet, we're accomplishing similar things. And then, of course, you can see he's got some uplights around the room as well. And we can see that they're all the same color.
Yes, all linked or synced up like that for color.
Got some control going on here. Sorry, my computer's just having a moment. So I like we're kind of back to the minimalist here. My two pictures from Carlos, and we can see that, a really different vibe. We've got, some pastels in the picture on the right, and then a bit more of a hot pink in the left. But again, things are thematically tied together, and all he's using here are uplights.
Yeah.
So these, I think, are the Eternal Cube Echo MK2s, if I remember correctly. But it's been a minute. And now we're back to what we started with. My friend Eric, his show looks a little different these days. And we can see here he's gone with, again, this minimalist setup, a couple totems, a couple Evolve 50s, some wash lights, and a couple of moving heads. And the moving heads are low, kind of right at crowd level. And you can see everybody's dancing and having a good time. I do kind of want to take the over-under pool, though, on how many people got drunk and fell in the pool.
I was just kind of thinking the same thing, is, once they get to the point where they're getting less sophisticated.
Yeah, so less sophisticated, right?
Less sophisticated. There might be problems with the pool. Might be problems. Somebody might get naked and be in the pool by the end of the night. I'm just saying, it happens.
Yeah, probably me. So anyway, on the right here, we could see that now he's got something a little bit more festive going on, different colors. This may even be like a sound active chase. It might have been programmed purposefully, and he's got the mirror ball because some things are timeless. I
Yes.
think, often mirror balls are associated with the 70s, but I believe they came about in the 40s. So somebody could look it up. I'm just going from memory here, but I mean, they've been around a long time, is my point. And some effects just never really go out of style. And in fact, this one from my good pal Chuck, and this was meaningful. I wanted to put this in because Chuck was there when the disco ball was invented.
Yeah,
So
exactly. He was there saying, let's glue this mirror on that basketball and see what happens.
that's right. He was there. He was there.
They threw the ball through the peach crate, and as it came down, he's like, "Wait a second, give me that for a second."
Chuck just made a really nice post about me today on the forums, but he included a picture from when I was vacationing in Hawaii where he used to live, and it's a topless picture of me, and it's not flattering because it's a topless picture of me. So I just had to point out that he was around when the disco ball was invented. In fact, I just watched that show Manhunt on Apple TV. It's about the assassination of Lincoln and the subsequent political scene and I was actually going to call Chuck and ask him if that's the way it really was, but so anyway, this one comes to us from Neil, and what I think is really cool about this is it's different than everything else we've seen. We see some of the same elements. We've got some facade lighting, we've got some totems, we've got some pixel strips on the truss, we've got some effects up on the truss and the effect panels. And we've got some moving washes and moving spots. And this is kind of almost sort of the modern throwback to the roller rink. It's kind of like we're moving back to big truss, lots of lights. It's the opposite of that ultra minimalist thing. And, some guys might gasp when they see this and go, "Oh no, you can't do that. That's not right." Who says? I bet Neil's got happy clients, and I bet that's what makes Neil's show great and unique is that he's doing his thing, and that's what's really cool about it.
Yeah.
So, again, if I was a client who wanted this, I wouldn't be happy with the other things.
Oh, exactly.
So that's what I kind of want to point out. Like, there's as opinionated as we like to be, there isn't really a right or wrong. And in spite of there being a lot more stuff going on here, we can see Neil has control. He's got, we can see the colors are deliberate, right? This is not an accidental, showing here. So, so kudos to Neil for that. All right, just a few more examples. These from Paul Doucette, and we can see he's gone with a real minimalist set. He's got a couple of pixel strips that are attached to his speakers. We're not going to get into whether or not I advocate that because that's for the individual speaker manufacturers to decide. But again, the lower right picture, we can see that we've got plenty of light around the room and people are having a good time, and that is all that matters.
Right.
And Randy Bosley sent this one, and again, I liked it because you can see it's kind of light outside. It's maybe early in the day, and yet it all kind of works together. He's got some heart gobos on the dance floor, and he's got the totems, and everybody seems to be having a good time. And I don't think the clients feel the least bit bad about what they've got here. I think they'd be probably very happy with what's going on. So, and again, he's got the moving lights and things as the night goes on. He can throw a little bit more, light and action on the dance floor. And as long as we're doing these things intentionally and purposefully, I think we're going to do a great job. And this one I liked because it was so different. We go from that super elegant hall that we started with Jim Cerrone to a small gymatorium, and what's fascinating to me is having the lens of working with DJs all over the United States and even other countries and talking about NIMBY, not in my backyard. And, it's for some people, they just wouldn't be caught dead in a venue like this, right? And they just can't imagine that DJs work in a venue like this. And they'd say, well, if I came to your market, if you came to that market, you wouldn't know what to do, because you wouldn't understand it, it's different than your market,
Right.
And I mean, I got married in an Elks Club, all right? So, well, I didn't get married there, I got married to church, but my wedding dance was in an Elks Club, So I think the point is that there's a lot of variety out there and there's a lot of opportunity out there. Not every hall is going to look like the one that Jim Cerrone was in. And I know for a fact Jim doesn't just work in halls like that. And I liked this because it was very different than the other events we've looked at with your weddings. This is clear. This is kids' night out. We got some UV panels going on. We got, the 4-bar or gig bar, whatever, on top there. And he's got it ready to rock for some kids in this gymatorium. And that is probably exactly what the doctor ordered for that moment in time, right?
Looks good.
I thought so. And these from Jeremy, I liked because they're a bit more festive, and again, no right or wrong, doesn't matter. I don't know, couldn't say, but obviously a lot of color going on here. Looks very energetic and festive on the left, and in the bottom right, it looks kind of honestly like chaos. I'm like, here comes the roller rink, the LED equivalent of the roller rink. I was going to ask him though, like, is he DJing in a hallway? Because that's like so narrow. But it's like if you turn the corner, you're like getting blasted by this, chaos coming out of the hallway. And if that's the vibe you're going for, and of course we could talk about like our friend Jeremy Lambie, who has a very big setup he does for high schools, that sort of thing.
Yeah, many do.
Yeah, right rig for the gig.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Right rig for the gig. I kind of like the chaos because I'm a product of the 90s.
Oh,
but
yeah, exactly. It speaks to us, but it's all.
I will also say, for my daughter's wedding, I have spent now a career as an audio engineer doing large stadiums and arenas and things like that. And the lighting designers are always doing their final focus while I'm trying to do things at the console, and they're always blinding me. So I'll be perfectly happy minimalist will make me perfectly happy. But to the DJ who's doing her wedding and may be watching the show, don't pay attention to what I have to say. It's her day. Make it about her. I don't really care. I'll deal. So, all right. And here we can see my good buddy Ryan, and we've got two different rigs from him. You can see on the left, it's very minimalist. 2 totems, the evolves, the sticks, some moving heads. Very simple and elegant, and it really looks like it matches that decor well. And on the right, still very elegant, but now we can see there's a much bigger truss, like a truss arch. He's got some wash effects is hanging from there. The snow machine, super cool. I don't really get it. I got to be honest, Ryan. I mean, it looks really cool, and he's got some videos too, and it looks great. Nice job. But for those of us who live in Minnesota, snow? Really?
Yeah, it's like, that doesn't.
I don't get it.
I mean, we have 11 months of it already. Why do we need it at the wedding? I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying. But you know what? If the client liked it, it's all that matters. I guess my question isn't really for Ryan. It's more for them. Like, what are you thinking? But anyway, why do you want snow at your wedding? But anyway, it looks, again, it's beautiful. Looks great. Yeah. Photos are turning out great. He's got the decor matched. We can see the pinks, and the whites, and it looks intentional and purposeful. And it would look great, walking into that room. This one I liked for some of the different reasons. My very good pal Sean in the Bay Area, he's got, and by the way, his wife makes phenomenal enchiladas, and I'll just tell you that. But anyway, it's only uplighting here, right? And yet look at that dance floor. These people, I mean, they're having a great time. Those are genuine smiles. They're having like the conga line thing going on here, whatever. But they're having a great time, and bottom line, it's working. Whatever he's doing as a DJ, and whatever they're doing as lighting, whatever he's doing as the lighting, it's working. Everybody's having a great time. So.
For sure.
This one from our fellow Midwesterner Skeeter. I kind of like this because it looks like he's kind of focused all the energy on the ceiling. Is kind of letting that bounce down, and it's a bit different than some of the other things that we saw. But he does have some dance floor wash there with the purples, and he's got kind of this multi-layered thing going on. The other reason I wanted to bring in this one from Skeeter is because he gave me this shirt. And it was a good chance. It's a lighting shirt, so he gave it to me at the symposium. So it's a good chance to put it in the show here.
Minus screen.
And if you're a lighting person, you know what that means, and it's funny. And you'll notice it's kind of wrinkly because I actually had to take it out of the laundry. I was actually just wore it. So Skeeter, I do wear that shirt, and
there you go.
I realized we had this show, and I'm like, man, I got to find that shirt. And it was in the laundry. So anyway,
we got to wrap up here in a couple of minutes, Ben. So I don't know.
Well, good. Let's just plow through to the end.
Yeah,
so again, sort of the same as what we've seen before here at Justin. We've got some of the tubes, and we've got some pars and sort of a mix and match. My good buddy Tyler Hacker from the Nashville area. Here we've got some moving heads. I like how he's kind of staggered them on the stage. He's got some depth going on here.
Yes, for sure.
I tell you what, the guy on the left though, the guy pointing, like I need his energy, right? Like that's what we need right there. But anyway, Tyler has mixed in some some of these pixel squares that you can see here. They call them different names with different manufacturers, but sort of using it as a cob wash type light. He's got the moving heads and then lights in the totem. And again, he's got everything going together, and he's got control. And I just can't overstate that word. Owning the moment, making sure the lights fit. One of the best quotes I ever heard was from a lighting designer with a tour that I worked with, a fairly major artist. And I asked him one time when I was preparing a presentation on lighting, I said, "What's the best compliment anybody could give you? You got millions of dollars of lights to work with, and what's the best compliment somebody could give you?" And he said, "It fit." That the lighting fit what the artist was doing on the stage. And I think for us, we should adapt that to fitting it to what is happening in the moment with the event and making that thematically match. By the way, other great piece of advice he gave when I was preparing for this, he said, here's another really good piece of advice. You're moving heads. He said, just because it can move doesn't mean it has to move.
Very true. Some of the most effective uses are at a specific spot and have it hold.
And that ties really, really well. We're closing in here, but that ties really, really well to these three pictures from Gaetano. And we can see how he's using his moving heads as breakups. He's using them to create these patterns on the wall on the left. We've got our monogram in the middle, but we've got these moving heads that are creating these breakup patterns on the walls. Top right, we can see the breakups on the floor. And then, of course, in the bottom right, we can see that, again, it's fitting the moment. Everybody's dancing and having a good time. And those moving heads are now being used in less of a atmosphere for the room and more about energy on the dance floor.
Yeah, nice.
So anyway, that is the collection of pictures I was able to throw together. Thank you to everybody who contributed.
Thank you. Good stuff.
Thank you for the 5 million people who contributed. I didn't have time to get to your pictures. I really appreciate you doing it. I just had to put this together.
So let's kind of, we'll wrap with it, but you mentioned control, and I think that was one of the themes that kind of was rolling behind the scenes on all of those, is that synchronizing of colors, synchronizing of lights to achieve something at a specific moment. Let's talk a little bit about a couple of options for controlling lights for shows such as that.
Well, in the thread where I was talking about these lighting pictures, Tom actually brought up the question of, will I talk about ILS? And I don't want to turn this into an infomercial, but I think that probably everybody in these pictures is using DMX, which of course that's the reason DMX came about in 1986, is in 1991, we really kind of made it a thing, is it gave us the ability to control things, but a lot of people are still uncomfortable with DMX. There's certainly ways that have made it much easier. The WMX1, for example, great option. Sound Switch has been really popular, but Chevet is coming out with this new ILS protocol, which is going to make, ILS is instant light shows, and it's basically designed to make these things really, really easy to do. So I'm pretty excited. They have already got some really great things on the market, and I was just down at the Chevet headquarters maybe a month or so ago talking about the roadmap and where it's going to go, and I think that's going to be really cool. And I think whatever control platform that you opt to use, I think that's going to be sort of the trend, is A, the need to do it, and B, the ease that will come with it.
Sure.
So DMX still the worldwide prevailing standard, and then we're seeing other Eternal has their new Icon Mate, and there are other ways that these things can be controlled, and ILS is going to be really cool. It's already really cool. I'm just saying it's just going to get cooler. So if you own some ILS now, just wait, because really good stuff's coming. So.
And somebody asked about ILS. They have to be compatible ILS lights to use with that system.
Correct. Only ILS products will work with ILS. It is a closed ecosystem. And I was just talking to the folks at Chevet about that the other day, saying, this really is going in the opposite direction of why DMX came about. The reason DMX came about, of course, was to make sure that everything could work together. But with what Chevet's trying to do, that's not really going to be possible. So they have, I mean, you have to make it a closed ecosystem in order to do what they're trying to do, to make it as easy as they're trying to make it. And certainly that can be seen in lots of places, Apple, iPhone, whatever, right? There's nothing wrong with having a closed ecosystem. When you control the hardware and the software, you can do much more. You can make it much easier and much better. And that's what they're trying to do. And I think that they've already got a great start, and just only better things coming.
So if I'm interested in really amping up my light show, and I've had a little bit of a start, but I really need some thoughts and such, you've got a young man on staff up there that would be someone that is coming from the DJ industry that someone could call and say, hey, Kyle.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting when you said a young man on staff up there. There was a few people that came to mind because, of course, we have lighting designers that work with and support tours. But Kyle would be first on that list as a guy who is a working DJ who has spent his own money on gear for many years, has the same lens that I do of talking to thousands of DJs across the United States on a regular basis and compiling their ideas and aggregating those thoughts. Absolutely. I would be talking to Kyle without a doubt. He can also get you some great deals on the gear too. He's not a salesperson. He's not paid by a commission, but all of us have the ability to help out. And he certainly does that on a daily basis. I think he has walked that walk as a guy who has bought gear, and he knows how to help people walk that walk too. So.
Excellent. Again, you guys can find out more information, the phone number, whatever you need in the link. It's in the description, nlfxpro.com. And get some questions. We should probably add on our future show to do a night where we just look at the ILS system for the people who've never really dug into that. I think that might be maybe we could even get Jeffrey to join us.
Maybe not Jeff. Love Jeff.
That's true.
Jeff,
he's been. Yeah.
Jeff would tell you the same thing. There might be a new face to talk to.
Yeah. Yep.
But maybe it would be Jeff. Again, I love Jeff. But yeah, I think that there are some people at Chevet that would be very excited to talk about that. If not Jeff, maybe some of the others. I don't know if I'm allowed to say names.
Yeah,
yet,
we'll
I don't know if anybody would even know the name anyway. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Everybody has met Jeff at a different trade show over the years and such. And
right. If you don't know Jeff, like we're living under a rock.
Yeah, he's been our go-to for everything. It's from live, from stage and theater to sing and then DJ stuff too. He's been the man. But yeah, that'll be a great one. We should put that on a future show topic. So Ben, we got to bounce. Brian and Jay are in the chill room, DJNTV.com/chill. They're going to be doing the Tuesday night music show here in just a little bit, and they'll also be doing the Boston John's music roundup. You guys can go kind of hang out in the back of the Zoom room there and listen and kind of follow along, or you can be part of the show and kind of share some music and thoughts, and then it becomes this overnight DJ hangout, which could go until the wee hours of the morning. And it's like a
sleepover on DJNTV.
It has literally been. I have come in numerous times. At I think it was 2 weeks ago, I came in at like 5:30 in the morning. That's when I get down to my computer, and there were still people in the room from the night before. Now there actually were folks I've never met before, so they were new, and they looked like they had been pulling an all-nighter. So
I feel like I'm kind of missing out. I feel like I kind of need to do this.
I've jumped in there a couple of times after when I've done a show where I've been like 2 hours away and basically connected with my phone, set the phone down on the seat of the truck as I'm driving down the road, and had my ear pod in so I could listen to and converse. And it was just a fabulous way to connect with DJs literally from around the world that night. And we talked in an hour and a half, 2 hours, just talking shop. It was fabulous. What a great way to stay awake driving through the North Woods of Minnesota, getting home after a show. So DJNTV.com/chill. You guys can go check that out. They'll be up in just a few minutes. Ben, thank you very much for and thank all of you who
thank everybody.
Pictures. Yeah, great photos and just really showed the diversity. And I think it really goes back to the way you started it. There's no really wrong answer.
Yep. And it's going to be constantly evolving, and the marketplace is going to drive that, and we're going to innovate along with that. And what are you going to paint?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. So, gang, we'll catch you next Tuesday. We're going to be back again. So, again, just look for the link in the Sunday email. Good night, everybody.